Hi guys, today's video is about warning signs, which are the triangular ones. So if you basically put a line before the warning sign and a line afterwards, then you can make a W with the actual sign. So you know it's a warning sign because you can create a W with the sign itself. So that's quite a nice way of how to remember that you've got a warning sign. And any type of warning sign that you have just basically means slow down. This is about to happen, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up today is because when you have a warning sign, sometimes it's quite obvious. Sometimes you can see the sign and then you can see the hazard that they're talking about pretty much straight away. So let's just say it's a roundabout. You're probably going to be able to see the roundabout as well as the sign, because it's like in a sort of, there's the sign and there's the roundabout, right? But they're particularly useful when you see the sign when the thing is around a corner, right? So for example, the traffic light one is a particularly good one, because this is why I'm bringing it up today, because it just happened on a driving lesson. But it is important to know whether there's a traffic light round a corner, because it might be red, yeah? So it's really important that we don't approach with too much speed, because you may be going round a corner and it's red and there's a huge line of traffic. So if you can't see around the corner, you may have instantly stopped traffic, and you don't want to be doing an emergency stop when you go around the corner, right? So that's, you know, I mean, it's self-explanatory, isn't it? But it's obvious and something to talk about. And it can be the same like with ones like pedestrian crossings as well. You know, if you're going around a blind bend and then they've put very quickly a pedestrian crossing, whatever type it is, and they've put one around the corner, they're going to be like, look, careful, there's a pedestrian crossing as soon as you go around the corner. So, you know, take care with your speed on approach, because there may be a pedestrian in the road, or there may be a queue of traffic already stopped for the pedestrians, right? So signs are really important. I remember an exercise that my teacher did with me, and he said, right, Ros, for the next 15 minutes or whatever, we're going to be driving. How many signs do you think you're going to be able to see in that time? And I was, you know, this is like 23 years ago. This is like when I was learning it all. And I said a really low number, right? I said a really, really low number. And it was so eye-opening. What a teaching that was. Guys, there are signs for everything. It blew my mind, right? You're driving along and it's like there's a warning about a bend. And if you're not tuned in to see that, because you've never been a driver before, it's like you haven't even got the language of the road if you don't read the signs or the road markings. The language is there, ready for you to listen to, ready for you to take in. You know, when you've been a pedestrian, you've not bothered with that. It's almost like, I'm not a driver, I'm a pedestrian. I don't need to know that. So you block it out from your mind. It's almost like you eject it. It's not important to you, right? But when you're a driver, you need to be like, oh, hold on, there's a new language here. There's a new communication that I need to get into and study and learn and see. And that takes a bit of practice, yeah? Because you're not like conditioned to use road marking. You're not conditioned to use signs. So road markings are extremely handy, right? And obviously signs as well. So when I said this ridiculously low amount of signs, you know, when we finished, it was like quadruple the amount. There was like a bend in the road sign. There was a gentle bend, and there was like a warning saying gentle bend coming. I couldn't believe it. I know it sounds crazy, but at the time I was blown away by how much information is given to you by sign. So definitely look for signs, tune into it. This is something that you can do when you're driving with somebody else. Yeah, even if you don't have your own car or you're not having a driving lesson, you're probably going to get a lift with somebody, right? So getting a lift with somebody, you can start to train yourself for free your own driving abilities. So you can start to look at road markings, you can start to look at signs, you can do the exercise that I said. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to guess how many signs I see, and notice how little, yeah, I mean, I've told you that it's little, so you'll probably aim up now that I've said that, but you know, try and guess how many signs you're going to see in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And then count them all and actually see how right or wrong you are. And even in that exercise, you're going to be like, oh my God, I was told about speed bumps in the side road, because there's a warning sign with a line pointed to the left. You're going to see so many more things, bumps in the road signs, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I was warned about this, you know. Also, when you're sat in the car with other people and you're getting your free driving lesson because you're driving, watching somebody else driving, stuff like roundabouts, that's a free driving lesson right there. Don't go on your phone and and waste the opportunity of a free driving lesson. Watch your friend, watch your family member, watch your colleague driving. Why did they go at the roundabout? What blocker did they use at the roundabout? What chance did they take at the roundabout which was successful? Why did they do that? So roundabouts, that's just a free lesson right there. Maybe guess when they're going to go. Notice which car is going to block the traffic on the right. I would strongly suggest doing that. Even if you're sat on a bus, yeah, maybe sit at the front and notice what the bus is doing. If you're a bus user, yeah, until you get your license, right? In meeting traffic, yeah, look at the gap. Train yourself to look at the gap. You know, for years and years, you've been looking down at the floor because you've been a pedestrian. You don't want to trip up or fall in or step in anything nasty, right? Or fall down or whatever. So you've looked down whilst you've walked for most of your life. So lift your eye up, look further. That's what a driver needs to do. We need to look way further down the road. If you're looking down at the floor, we're not going to see anything. I made a really good video about that, and I did some exercises about what blocks out and stuff. It's called Don't Look Down. If you want to go and have a look at that, I'm pretty proud of that video because it's got some exercises about where you look and what blocks, what you can't see just from the way that your eyes work. There's an exercise of where you look at your finger and you just can't see anything. It's actually a very small amount of area that you can see. So don't look down, look ahead, look really far down the road, and then things that catch your eye, which are closer to you, will make movement, and then you'll look at them anyway. So things that you can practice when you're watching your colleague or your friend or your parent or whatever driving, your family member, yeah? Just make sure that you watch their roundabouts. Make sure that you look at the signs. Make sure that you look at the road markings. Make sure that you check the blockers at the roundabout and when they're going. Make sure you look at the gap. Looking at the gap is so important in meeting traffic because you're probably more likely to look at the parked car or look at the moving car. Yes, you need to see those things as a driver, of course you do, but then you need to train yourself to look at the gap, look at the gap. If you're my student listening to this, it's obvious, I mean, because I'm your driving instructor, you'll hear me say, look at the gap, look at the gap. I'm just constantly saying, look at the gap, look at the gap. So my students would recognise that happening. So if you were my student, I would be saying to you, look at the gap, look at the gap. So important because the gap is part of the hazard, isn't it? Can I fit through the gap? I'm not sure. Okay, better stop then, because you want to have a confident, yes, I can fit through that gap, yeah? So anyway, I hope that little bit of information helps you, especially about the signs. Maybe do that exercise, yeah? And if you see a warning sign and, you know, things may be around a corner, and that's extremely useful, yeah? All right, guys, I hope that you're having a nice day, and I'll see you on the next one.